What you witnessed was beyond speed, action, and what the human eye could see, can fathom, but I tell you this. It wasn't unusual, it was natural, as water flowing downward as easily as a leaf falling from a tree you see. For years, I saw martial artists concentrate over speed, faster blows, kicks, quicker motions, always faster, 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 but they were like blind men. Looking for the sun, gazing everywhere but up, they sought speed in muscles. True speed dwells in the voids, not in the tendons of bone. Between thoughts, my friends, what you observed was not the presence of speed, but the absence of. Slowness is not the addition of velocity, but the subtraction of resistance. Not the power of movement, but the surrender to emptiness. Consider water. When you pour it, does it attempt to flow or strain to? Does it contract its muscles, prepare its posture, summon its energy or not? Simply flows because that is its nature. Your body and spirit both possess this. Same nature, but we have buried it under layers of conceptual stress. False knowledge that I'm going to share with you was once considered illegal, not because it was hazardous. However, it endangered everything the ancient masters considered sacred, so they built their temples of technique, their mountains of methodology. But I found that true speed does not necessitate the construction of a temple, but rather the destruction you believe you know about movement. Today I will show you how to unlearn slowness and how to strip away the armor that you believed protected you, but only weighed you down. How to return to that pure state when movement is not manufactured, but just allowed to occur. This is not a skill to perfect, but a truth to comprehend is not a skill to gain, but a freedom to rediscover is not a destination to attain, but an origin to remember. Are you willing to unlearn everything to empty your cup? Completely to discover that the greatest speed comes not from the perfection of skill, but from the perfection of let us begin with freedom, remembering that the cup must first be emptied. So, my friend, take this glass of water and really look at it to observe how the water sits. There perfectly still, but ready to move in any direction without hesitation, without preparation, without consideration. Now watch closely as I pour it, and notice how flows, doesn't attempt to be fast, doesn't prepare to move, and doesn't tense. Up or gain its strength, it just moves, which is the earliest and deepest true speed, as I realized, is not generated, it is released when you punch or kick. Are you like this water, or like a rock forcing your way through the air the most? Martial artists are rocks. They grow themselves into harder, heavier, and stronger. They try to smash through impediments with force and stress. Effort, but actual speed cannot exist. Where there is tension, check the water again when I move the glass. Does the water resist? Does it battle against the motion? No, it adapts instantaneously and wonderfully. This is not merely a demonstration, my buddy. It is the core principle of ultimate speed. You know, for years I trained traditionally and built my speed like everyone else. I reached a stunning realization one day through repetition, force, and will. I realized that I was too sluggish, not because I lacked speed, but because I was fighting against me. Every muscle strained, every motion planned, every strike calculated. I had become a prisoner of my own striving, and the water showed me the truth. Water does not flow quickly or slowly. It flows exactly as it should when it falls. From a tremendous height, it goes with incredible speed when it meanders. Through a pleasant stream, it goes slowly, but notice the water itself does not change, just its expression does. And this is the secret. Missed traditional martial arts teach you to be swift, whereas I train you to be like water that drips so softly that it calms a child to sleep, or water that may smash through solid rock without adding speed. Uncovered, it is not developed, it is freed. Observe how the water moves to fill every space, locate every opportunity, and adapt to every. This is not intelligence or skill. It is its essence. And this same essence lies within you, buried by years of trying to be speedy instead of allowing yourself to, when I say, being like water. I'm not using analogies. Water tells us that true speed comes from deleting all that makes us, rather than attempting to be fast. Slow down every strain, every idea. Effort are the adversaries of speed. The glass of water in my palm holds more wisdom about actual speed than any training handbook ever published. Water doesn't try to be anything. It simply is, and in that simple reality, falsehood's the secret of limitless speed allows me to communicate something I've never said before, a moment of failure. That became my greatest teacher. And in Hong Kong, I was recognized as the young master, the prodigy. I assumed I had reached true speed. I was wrong. It was a sultry evening in my old. The training hall's air was thick with incense and the weight of tradition. Visiting master had come an old guy who appeared weak, his hands nailed like old tree roots. I was to exhibit my talents and pride. Arrogance, they blinded me. I raced into my fastest combo. I had spent hundreds of hours perfecting motions that had never failed me, but something extraordinary happened. The previous master did not block or evade. Just was not there yet. He hadn't moved, or rather, he had moved so my eyes were so trained that they couldn't grasp it 3 times. So I attacked 3 times. My pace, which I had felt was unstoppable, appeared childish and crass. I was going quickly, but I was struggling against myself. The ancient air against reality itself. He simply allowed himself to be wherever my fist wasn't that night, and I couldn't sleep. Shame burned, but more than that, a question burned deeper. What had I seen that wasn't as I understood it? The ancient master transcended speed itself. I spent the following weeks in deep contemplation. I would sit for hours watching leaves fall and examining insects. Fly studying how clouds drifted across the sky. Nature became my instructor, and gradually the reality was revealed. I had been like a painter who exclusively used red. Believe he had mastered color. But true speed wasn't about going quicker. It was about understanding that movement itself was only the surface of something far deeper. The breakthrough happened unexpectedly. I was practicing late one night, pushing myself to be quicker, tougher, and stronger. Weary, I crashed against in that moment of utter surrender. I sensed the lack of endeavor is the disintegration of purpose, the release from the urge to be. I quickly stood up, and for the first time in my life, I moved without attempting. My body moved like an empty space, expressing itself without resistance. Without thinking about speed or slowness, I had finally comprehended what the old master had told me, that true speed is not something you acquire. It is something you discover when you peel away everything that is not necessary, that failure in the training. Hall, it wasn't a defeat, but rather a gift that destroyed my illusions and drove me to rebuild my knowledge from nothing. My friend, our greatest times of enlightenment are disguised as our darkest times of this is why I share this story with you, to discover true speed. You must first be willing to lose everything you believe you know about it, just as I did that steamy evening in Hong Kong. An ancient master taught a young Bruce Lee that he knew nothing about speed. All right, my friend, I want you to do something with me. Raise your hand. Don't think about it in front of you. Just notice the movement. Beautiful, effortless, natural. You didn't plan it. You didn't calculate the angle. You did not deliberately activate any muscle. You simply moved. This is your birthright. The speed that lives within you and has always lived within you. Notice what now. Attempt to move your hand with maximum speed and feel how the every attempt to be fast made you slower, the strain increased. Preparation and thought are the chains we lay on our natural when you contact anything hot. Your hand jerks away with incredible speed. No training is required. Preparation is not required. This is simply your body's natural speed. Knew exactly what to do and performed it perfectly. But here is the profound, fact, this speed is not reserved for crises. It is your natural state. Hidden beneath layers of pondering. Close your eyes for a moment. If I were to tell you, you could feel the breeze on your skin without opening your eyes. If a fly just landed on your nose, your hand would know just where to reach it. Flawless speed, flawless accuracy. Your body knows what it has from the moment you were born. You had the ability to move quickly. That would make the finest martial artists envy. To see a baby clutch its mother's finger movement is instantaneous, precise, and no one taught the baby. This speed was not developed. It was what we had before we learned to be sluggish. Let me show you something else. When I snap my fingers near your face, and you blink faster than any punch I can deliver, can throw faster than any kick you've ever seen, and you didn't learn it. It was given to you. It is natural. Pure is what remains when there is no disturbance. Your body is a warehouse of despite our great speed. We have become like a rich guy living in poverty because he had forgotten about his money. We search outside for what we already have within and try to add. When we should be removing slowness, consider how swiftly our ideas move around your head. One moment you're here, the next you're recalling a childhood memory. Then you're planning tomorrow's meal with this simple movement. Flow is your actual nature. Your body is capable of doing the same. Immediacy. But here is the terrible truth. We've learned to be slow every time we consider moving. Every time we prepare to be fast and try to add speed, we go forward. From our natural state, the mind that says, I have to be speedy, is the same mind that causes slowness. Remember the hand you lifted without thinking? That flawless, smooth action is not the beginning of the voyage, my buddy. Everything I teach about speed is not about obtaining something new, but about returning to something ancient, something you've always had. Your body recognizes speed like water, knows how to flow like fire, burn like wind, and fly. Your only duty is to quit interfering with this inherent intelligence and unlearn the slowness that thought has caused. Look at your hand again, my friend. Make a fist and grip it as tight as you may tighten even more. Try to move that fist with speed and experience. How? The very tension that you believe gives you strength actually imprisons you. This is not only physical stress, is the visual representation of your mind's opposition to natural movement. Remember our water in the glass. When I put an obstruction in its way, the water doesn't struggle or tense up. It does not try to push its way through the water, but rather finds the place where there are no obstacles. This is not wisdom. Your true speed has the same nature, but we have buried it under mountains of anxiety, thinking about trying. Let me share with you what I call physical stress is the first of 3 speed obstacles. Muscle tightness, joint stiffness, and rigidity. This stance is like trying to run through water while wearing heavy armor. You may move, but you will never know actual speed. The second barrier is mental. Tension is the thought before the movement, the planning before the action. Putting intention before expression is like catching the wind with a net. The simple act of when you consider yourself to be quick, you have already the final obstacle, and possibly the most severe, is spiritual tension. Disconnection from your own natural speed is like a bird that has forgotten. It can fly and stroll wherever it goes. It has the speed and ability. Ooh, but the recollection is lost. These barriers are not walls. They are illusions that can be seen through when you squeeze them. Making a fist with all of your force does not create power, but rather a cage. Bars when you consider how to move swiftly. You are not prepared for speed. Heed. You are ready for slowness. Think about this moment right now. Now, you could have moved in by the time you decide to move. You may have already mentioned how much time it takes to prepare for speed. In the time it takes to think about being fast, you could have already arrived. The river does not pick its path, it displays its nature. The lightning does not decide. Where to strike it follows the line of least resistance, your true speed, And your natural speed is simply like this. It doesn't need your permission. It doesn't need your, when you genuinely comprehend this, you won't need to be stressed about preparation. Understand this. Something exceptional happens, the barriers do not break. Dissolving the tension does not release it, and thinking does not stop it. Becomes unnecessary, but what remains is pure. The greatest speed is the result of pure movement, and speed cannot be attained. It can only be allowed. You do not burst through obstacles. You realize they were never there, like a person in a dark room fighting shadows. When the light turns on, the conflict becomes irrelevant, and the barriers to your speed are these shadows, and understanding is the light that makes them disappear. Now we enter the realm where few martial artists dare to explore the gap between intention and action, the void where true speed is born. Stand with me in complete stillness. Sense the full energy within you, not the energy of stress, but the energy of existence itself in this stillness. In this stillness, there is perfect speed before the concept of prior to the impulse for action. There exists a condition of pure potential, is like a lightning bolt before it strikes, like an avalanche. Before it, all speed exists first in absolute terms. Stillness, observe your breath and feel how it moves. This is the same energy that generates speed. It does not begin in the muscles. It moves through your body without your command. It does not begin with movement, but rather with the thought. Even before the teat originates in the space where thought and energy exist. Most martial artists train their bodies for speed, but seldom knowing that speed is born in stillness. They fill themselves with technique via effort. Intention, yet true speed, demands emptiness. As a vessel, the more you fill it, the less it can contain. Feel the energy circulating within you, not by directing it or managing it, but by becoming aware of. The conscious mind cannot fathom the pace with which this energy flows naturally. When you throw a punch with thought, you employ muscle. When you throw a punch with energy, you express life's speed. Your ideas are like ripples on the surface of a deep. The lake appears to be moving, but they just disturb. The true speed originates from the depths where no ripples occur. Hence, speed cannot be considered this important fact. Thought must arise from the place underneath thought. Between the instant you decide to move and the moment you move an entire universe of time, there is a gap between intention and action, and this is where fights are won. Lost is where true speed lives or dies in your stillness right now. In this stillness, you dwell in pure potential, like an archer's bow before release, like a spring before it. Uncoiling you are speed yearning to express itself. The relationship between mind and speed is not what you have been taught. Thought does not create speed, only recognizes speed that already exists, such as the moon reflecting on water. When we confuse the reflection for the source, our speed is not created by us. Your mind merely witnesses the speed that is your actual nature, which is why meditation is not. Separate from martial arts, this stillness we share today is not the reverse of speed, but speed in itself. Purest form, when you properly comprehend this action, becomes effortless, since it occurs from stillness rather than striving. Let this settle deeply into your before every action. There is a moment of absolute stillness. Before every technique, there is a space of pure potential. This is not philosophy. This is the science of speed at its highest fundamentally. The slower you enter this region, the faster your mind must become as quiet as the surface of a lake. If you consider everything bothered by nothing, you will understand that speed is not something you do, but something you allow to happen through. Most people believe that time flows like a river, steadily, unchangeable, but I've realized something profound. Time is like water in hands. Take the shape of your viewpoint in combat in life. There are no minutes. There are no seconds, only moments and endless space between these moments. Have you ever noticed how time seems to slow down during emotional moments? Action, an automobile swerving towards you, a glass falling from your hand unexpectedly. The world moves in slow motion. This is not an illusion, but rather a glimpse of the reality about time and speed that most martial artists want to be. They practice to move faster, strike quicker, and react faster than time. This is like attempting to escape your own shadow. True mastery comes not from going quicker through time, but from expanding the intervals between moments. Consider a very adept boxer. When you see them dodge a punch, it appears they have supernatural speed. But let me show something to you. They are not moving faster than their opponent. Rather, they are moving earlier and exist in the space between. In my years of investigation, I have encountered instances when time itself becomes fluid. Realized that speed is not about how quickly you can travel through time, but how well you can step out of when you throw a punch at full speed. There are thousands of invisible moments between the beginning and end of the movement. Most martial artists live only true mastery, exists in all locations, not only at the beginning and conclusion. Between here is a reality that will revolutionize your perception. Speed does not exist in time. Speed occurs in the spaces between time, just like music is not in the notes. However, in the quiet between them, just as words are not in the letters. When you observe a master martial artist, you are in between them. You are not observing someone moving faster than others, but rather someone who has learnt to expand the moments to exist in the spaces that others pass through unwittingly. They have learned to create. Their home is in the space between seconds, which is why true conflict, real speed, transcends time and cannot be measured by a stopwatch. It exists in a dimension that regular perception cannot comprehend. Consider this: between the moment your opponent decides to attack and as soon as their attack begins, there is a distance between their intention and their action. The vacuum is where true speed exists. It is where fights are won before the highest manifestation of speed is not about moving faster than your opponent, but about living in moments. They cannot see that once you master this, you will comprehend why the ancient masters said, "The supreme fighter strikes while the enemy is still present." Preparation is not mysticism. It is the science of perceiving time. Just as Einstein demonstrated that time is relative to the observer, I realized that in fight, time is when it comes to consciousness. The more aware you are, the more time discloses its secrets. Remember that speed does not exist in the ticking of the clock or the blur of movement. Speed exists in the interval between moments. Breathing in the stillness, between thoughts, in the emptiness, between intention. Master these places, and you master time. Now, my friend, we have arrived at the point where philosophy meets reality. Many practitioners believe that the profound principles we've explored materialize in warfare, become disoriented. They comprehend the fundamentals but are unable to bridge gap to application. Let me show you how water becomes lightning in real combat. You have no time to ponder about being like water, no moment to remember. This is why we don't add these concepts to our fighting. We must become them. When I participate in combat, I am not Bruce Lee trying to be like water. I am water expressing itself via Bruce Lee. See what happens when I move with an opponent and notice how there is no preparation, no setup, no telegraph like electrical finding. My movements are simply expressed through the path of least resistance. Resistance is not a strategy. It is the truth. Motion is the flow state that athletes talk about, and science attempts to measure it, is nothing but a return to your original way of being. In actual fight, you cannot enter the flow state. You must know that you are the only thing obstructing this. Realization is your attempt to accomplish it, and natural speed expresses in fighting. You don't block and then counter an assault. Not see and then respond seeing is responding the gap between perception. And action fades, you're moving and are already born. Like lightning that appears everywhere at once, most fighters aim to achieve speed, moving faster and quicker, yet in genuine combat, true speed grows by removing every stress, idea, and intention becomes unnecessary. Obstacle fighting transforms from an exchange of methods to a flow of pure expression. Remember our water in the glass in fight. You become that water. Pressure occurs from any direction, and you're already flowing around it before the pressure is full. Fast, but because you are inaccessible to slowness, not because you conquer, but because you never consider resistance as real. This is why traditional martial artists frequently get slower as they learn more methods. They develop walls within themselves, create resistance where none existed. But when you grasp speed, every method becomes something you accept in genuine combat. Speed is not a weapon you utilize. It is a reality. Express like gravity. It simply is. You don't strive to make gravity function. Simply allow it to express itself through your movement. True battle speed is precisely the same. Engage. There is no preparation. Gathering of energy or evidence of what is to come is not deception, but liberation from the need to prepare every moment is full in itself and requires nothing from the moment. Before promising nothing to the next moment, this is the ultimate expression of everything we've discussed in true fight. You become speed itself, not fast or slow, not powerful or weak, just pure expression of the moment, like water, flowing like lightning, striking like wind, no effort, no resistance. Separation between purpose and action is the real key of warfare. Application is that you don't bring these ideals into your fighting. Remove everything that inhibits these concepts from expressing themselves spontaneously through you. Combat becomes not a doing, but an allowing, not a performance, but a revelation. And now, my friend, we reach the ultimate paradox, the final truth. That encompasses all other facts that I'm about to share with you, appear to contradict all you believe about speed and movement, martial arts itself, yet in this contradiction comes the deepest wisdom. Watch me now. Movement, no preparation, no pace. Slowness, I am simply here. This condition of being is the greatest technique, because it is complicated, but because it is utterly simple. Not because it is something, but because there is nothing the masters of old had a saying. The supreme art of war is to subdue the opponent without fighting. I tell you now that the supreme art of speed is to arrive without moving. This is not a philosophy or a puzzle. It is the ultimate embodiment of everything we have. When you properly comprehend speed, you realize that it doesn't exist, just as darkness is not a thing, but the absence of light speed is not. In the absence of resistance, the fastest sword stroke is not the one that cuts through the air the most rapidly, but the one that was already there. Consider all we've discussed: the water running, the space between times, and the freedom from all of these seem to point to the ultimate truth. Genuine speed transcends. When you reach perfect speed, you achieve perfection. Stillness occurs when you accomplish flawless movement. Look at the surface of a quiet lake in its stillness. It instantly reflects everything. Birds soaring overhead, clouds flowing across the sky, leaves. Falling on its surface, it does not try to reflect, nor does it prepare to. It just reflects, since that is its nature. Stillness, immediateness, and this is the speed I'm referring to in its most extreme form. In martial arts, there is no such thing as fast or slow, nor high or low. There is no before or after. Just entire presence and complete unity with the now. When you achieve this, Your movement is like the moon's reflection on water, appearing everywhere without going. The ultimate paradox is that actual speed is stationary, while true power is easy, genuine mastery is the absence of mastery when you finally grasp. Stop trying to be speedy and allow yourself to be as still as water in every moment. This is responding to everything and resisting nothing. Why do the greatest fighters appear to accomplish nothing special? Their movements seem simple, almost commonplace, but they are untouchable and indomitable. They have found that true speed is not about moving quicker than their opponent. It's about being so fully present that movement becomes unnecessary. Remember my words. When you acquire full speed, you will move as you have transcended that the concept of speed is not because you have learned to move faster, but because we learnt to be totally present in the eternal. And this is the end of our trip. It is also the beginning, because recognizing this ultimate paradox leads to a new journey, not towards speed, but towards stillness, not toward mastery, but toward naturalness, toward nothing rather than anything. And in that nothing, my friend, you will find everything.